Welcome back to Light Talk, where the paranormal and the supernatural is a part of our everyday life. Today, I have an extra special guest for you today. I've been trying to get this person on for about 2.5 years now, and we finally connected. So please welcome him and welcome to the show. Go ahead and take over.
Hello, thank you so much, Dana. My name is Shane Smith. I was struck by lightning several years ago, so I'm known as the lightning psychic. I've been psychic my whole life, and what the lightning did was enhance my abilities quite a lot. So I work on quite a few murder cases. When I started out, some of my first memories are I had a pre-birth memory. I remember knowing my great grandmother, who died years before I was born, on the other side, who came to see me, of course, when I was a baby. And I remember when my soul went into my mother's womb. And the way that sounds is you put your hand on your ear and you talk, and that's what baby hears from the womb. But I remember when I went in, it was so incredibly peaceful and happy and blissful. I remember my parents arguing, but I didn't feel like they were my parents. I felt like I've known them for eons. We were in the same soul group, so we were just in this incarnation to learn different things from each other and push each other forward in our progress. Um, yeah, so I work on a lot of murder cases. The most recent one was just the other day. This young lady's father had been murdered a week before, and I try to not get any information when I have a client, so I can figure it all out. And the first thing that happens is I go into a meditation and I do what's called automatic writing, where I connect with my guides and angels and they connect with spirit on the other side, or the client's guides and angels. And then I just sit the paper on my lap and with a pen and it just goes. And when someone dies, I can always feel how they died, whether it was a heart attack or a stroke. Um, but the other day, I felt a sharp bullet hole pain go through my neck, the right side of my neck. And when I asked the client about that, she said that's exactly what happened is her father was shot in the right side of the neck. Um, in almost every case that I've dealt with, unfortunately, the police either don't get involved or they chalk it up as a suicide if someone was given drugs. I'm working on a case in Boulder right now with the young lady who was found in Boulder Canyon. Um, she was clearly murdered. And the cops declared it as a suicide, which it is not. Suicide victims do not drag themselves over the rocks. It's just bizarre. In January, I was in Ireland for a murder case, and it was the same thing. Um, there were four different people that were involved in this old man's murder because they wanted the deed to his property. So one of the guys who was involved was the local cop. They ended up taking the evidence and can't find it. It's like that time and time again. Um, but what I do is I do my best to give family closure. Sometimes I can figure out where the body is. There's been a time or two where the cops refused to go onto the property because they needed a search warrant. It's it's been it's been really difficult with the cops, but at least I can give families closure. Um, I was doing a murder case a while back, which is actually on my television show that did Monsters and Mysteries in America, season 3, episode 3. Check it out. The girl that was murdered, um, I found her body. I knew it was in a field right near the airport, but the cops were involved in this in a third party sort of way. So they didn't do anything about it. Well, 9 months later, the body was accidentally uncovered right where I said it was. Um, yeah, so I do that. And then I have clients come into my office if they want to reach loved ones on the other side. Then I tune into them. Oftentimes, the loved ones will not only come in themselves, but they bring a whole bunch of other folks in from the other side. If the loved one committed suicide, they don't really want to talk right away. They open up a little bit, but oftentimes, if the person on the other side doesn't want to come through very much, then there's always somebody on their behalf that comes through. Oftentimes, when your relatives come through, they, even though the client wants a message for themselves, oftentimes the message is for a relative. I had a client I did a reading for a couple weeks ago, and the person who came through wanted to give a message to the client about his son because he was suicidal and he needed her help. So they come in all kinds of different ways, and sometimes they're just really funny. If they had a great sense of humor during life, they're going to have a great sense of humor on the other side. I was doing automatic writing for a client one day, and I had to pee really bad right in the middle of it. And so I went there, and the spirit showed up while I was in the bathroom, and she says, "Mary, my name is Mary, mother." I said, "Okay, just wait until I get back and I'll write it down." She says, "No, you'll forget. Mary, mother." I said, "Okay, okay." So I went back, wrote in big letters, Mary. When the client came in, I said, "Who is Mary?" And he said, "That was my mother." And I said, "Well, she followed me to the bathroom." And he said, "That sounds exactly like something she would do." So those are the things that I work with on practically a daily basis.
Yeah, you do so much. And I know you have lots of stories like that. I mean, you have tons of stories. We could go on for hours. I know we've talked before, and I know we can go on for hours and hours on just different stories. But I know you also do people's houses when they're being haunted. You go in and you investigate that and kind of help deal
Yes.
with the entity that's there. So, what kind of stories do you have with those?
Well, there was I don't I don't call them demons really. Those are very rare, but most of the time they're called prankster spirits. I was at a house one time and I went into the bedroom, and this was actually for a paranormal investigation. Um, so so there's like a whole crew there, and they try to debunk everything first to see if it's in the wiring or a mouse or something like that. So I went into the bedroom of these kids and noticed that there was a spirit that liked to come out of the closet and scare them and then go and hang out on the other side of the window and stare in at them. And when I said something, that was exactly what he was doing. Unfortunately, it was like a lot of those paranormal things you see on TV. They were yelling at the spirit and trying to get it to do this and that. Well, it did turn on a couple of flashlights. And then I saw, we were all in this one room, the spirit actually moved his hand out and touched someone on the shoulder, and everyone started to get kind of angry. You have to keep your cool in these situations because they feed off of anger. And then I saw this woman, her ankles were exposed, and she was sitting on the floor, and three um, scratches just appeared. You can avoid all of that by just simply telling them to get out, be firm, but don't be afraid. There's nothing to be afraid of. Um, yeah, I've done several houses where it's mostly residual. For example, somebody will have a bunch of antiques. I was in this lady's house one day and walked by this antique bookshelf, and I could tell that someone who owned it before had cancer, and they were miserable. And that residual was just coming right off of that bookshelf. And I asked her about it, and she said that it was true that she did buy it at an estate sale from someone who had died of cancer in the home. So you'd be surprised what comes off of the things that you buy. Um, I have a very difficult time going into an antique store because all that stuff just comes right at me. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, uh, b- and sometimes there's a ley line in the house, which is kind of like the blood veins of the earth. The pyramids are on one, Stonehenge is on one, and so I take my dowsing rods, and those are pretty easy to find with dowsing rods. Um, but a lot of times it's when someone is depressed that lives in the home, um, a low level entity will come in, just a prankster spirit and kind of bother them. So you just get rid of them. You just tell them to leave, and they leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're pretty interesting, some of those spirits. I had one, I don't know if I even told you, but I had one that was in my car one time for about a week. And
Oh my gosh.
I just felt somebody in my back seat. I just felt somebody there. And one morning, I'm laying in bed and I hear this help, like really raspy help, and I'm like, okay, what do you need? What is needing? Do you need help going over or what? I didn't hear anything back, but I'm like, go for it, go. The light is there, everything, and I haven't heard from him or seen him or felt him or anything since. So
Yeah, a lot of times, if they had heavy religious backgrounds, they just assume they're going to hell, which is not true. Um, and there are other reasons that they feel like they should stay kind of earthbound. They don't have to. Their loved ones and their angels and guides are always on the other side waiting for them, but it's up to them. Um, Sometimes they're stuck for a little while, and then finally they're coaxed over to the other side.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I hear a lot of people having stories of NDEs where they've gone to hell, and one of them even went to both. After that, she went to heaven. And so, what are your thoughts with people saying they've been there, and you're saying
Well,
there's not? So, how do you view that?
in every circumstance that I know of, when they have an NDE and they go to hell, that's because they just assumed they were going in life. Um, and every single time when they call out for help, a hand reaches down and grabs them out of there. So that's something that they're manifesting themselves. It's not the real deal because they will show you what the real deal is, which is just beautiful paradise, love. Now, murderers and people like Hitler and all of that, they go through the cherubim chamber and they kind of take care of that. Um, Most of the time, sometimes they're here because that was the agreement they made before the incarnation. And sometimes they just go way off track from their purpose. And they get a lot of, their soul gets a lot of schooling and help on the other side. Um, but sometimes they're not allowed to reincarnate again. Um, so there's different circumstances, but if someone is going to hell, so to speak, they're never going to stay there.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Okay.
Just want to kind of hear your side because you hear the different stories. So it's just like, okay, what is your outtake on it? Yeah.
Right now, there are a lot of children being born who are referred to as indigo children, um, volunteers who wanted to come in and live this life and help the vibration of the earth move up. And these kids are more psychically developed. All of us are born with psychic medium abilities, but we tend to lose them when we're about 5, 6, or 7. Some of us are able to keep it. Um, but the kids that are coming in now, so many of them, the veil is so thin, they're always seeing grandpa or remembering their past life, depending on um, how, sometimes if they had a short time on the other side this time, which is their decision, then they'll remember their past life pretty clearly. Um, so if you have a child, or even for yourself, oftentimes you'll see like a black figure just sort of dart out the corner of your eye. Um, that is always a relative or a friend who has passed and moved on, but they're coming to check on you or coming to see you, but they're just not able to manifest completely in a whole apparition. So that's what you see, and it can be scary to kids where it's really not. It's actually grandma or somebody.
So you're talking of the shadow people in that sense. So it's really your
Yeah,
relatives. Okay.
right.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd be curious kind of who was my shadow person. I don't
Well,
know.
probably your anyone you missed, your grandparents or whoever. People get those
Yeah.
things mixed up a lot, you know. Now I can see the low level entities do try to tease the kids and come after them because they don't want them to develop. For example, when I was a kid, about 7, this black entity, uh, it just looked kind of distorted and nasty and felt nasty. It got on top of me and I couldn't move or anything. But instead of showing it fear, I guess as a psychic child, I just kind of knew what it was. So I said, get off. And it got off and never came back. So never show fear because they sort of feed off of that and they'll want to scare you more. But if you just show them that you're bored and bored with them, they need to go. And sometimes you need to be firm with them, get out, and they'll leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really cool. I know one time I we got together and we were visiting and had put me into a past life. We can go into a little more detail with that and everything. Do you
Yeah.
remember that?
No, remind me. I do so
Um,
many of those that I don't remember who belongs to what.
no, no, you're absolutely fine. You're absolutely fine. Um, no, you had put me in just a real quick one,
Hmm.
and I ended up finding out that I was hung in my previous life. That
Oh.
I was hung from a tree in like the 1800s.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was walking through town at the beginning of it. I was walking into town, which had like maybe 6 stores or something like that in it.
Hmm.
The main street and then the buildings on the side. And next thing I recalled was being inside the general store, picking up a
Oh,
rifle. And
wow.
then the next step was walking out of town with the rifle in my hand.
Hmm.
Then the next thing I remember was I was in a tree and I was hearing all the men behind me chattering.
Were you male in that incarnation or female?
Yes, I was male.
Okay.
I was male. And I remember looking out and it was just the tree was like one of those tall trees and then it comes out like this with the round like round and then flat and then
Hmm.
the bark. Um I was hung from that tree there, and
Mm.
I was looking out, and I saw the beautiful open lands of, the prairie grass and all of that. It was just beautiful. And we were sitting there talking, and I was like, my head is getting heavy. It was like pushing down and getting heavy,
Oh,
laying, and that's when I was hung, is my head got heavy.
hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Then we went back one more, and I was a pirate, and I took my
Oh, okay.
life. I
Yeah.
took my life in that one. Yeah.
Wow. Uh,
Yeah.
do you have any like issues with your neck or anything now in this lifetime? I
I'm
mean, not
always
always,
tight.
but sometimes. Okay.
I'm always tight in the neck area. So I'm neck and shoulders. So I don't know. Do you think that might be
Well, there
something
you
with it?
go. So is the rope.
Well, there I am. All right. So that explains that one. All right. Yeah. That's
Yeah, so
crazy.
sometimes you do come in with habits that are still in your uh, cell memory from past incarnations. When I was a little kid, um, I used to kindergarten, first grade, or before, I would lift up my pant legs to go up and down the stairs. And one time a teacher stopped me, and this was in the early 70s where nobody knew anything. And they said, "Well, what are you doing? Why do you do that?" I said, "I don't know." So I had to go to counseling for it, right? It's like something ridiculous. So they could ask me why I do that. I had no idea. It was just a habit. So when I had a past life regression about 5 or 6 years ago, I went into my past incarnation where I was a woman in the 1800s and I kept lifting up my skirts to go up and down stairs all the time. So that habit just stuck. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, that makes sense because you have to pull up your dress so you don't trip on it or fall, that female
I'm
thing.
s yeah. Yeah. And then I had another lifetime where I had dreams about this lifetime. I remember being a slave during Roman times, and I remember being in charge of the bathhouse, the different temperatures of the water. And so before COVID, I happened to be in Pompeii, and everything looked familiar. And I went into this bathhouse, and it looked so familiar. It was just really old. But the thing was, I was so terrified of Mount Vesuvius, I couldn't wait to get on the bus and get out of there. So that was an incarnation where I died as a slave in Pompeii during that volcano.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Pretty amazing how we can remember. I mean, it's just at some point I would like to go back and find more of my lives, go back and see if I
And
can
there's
find some more. I mean, it's just for fun,
Yeah, and there
just
are
to find
ways
out.
to do
Yeah.
that during meditation to
Hmm.
get yourself to go back and see those things. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are like hour long ones, right? The ones I've
Um,
seen have been like
could
an
be.
hour
Yeah.
long. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So,
great.
I mean, when we first met, sh- that was a really, really interesting ordeal because we worked together,
Hmm.
and I was in the break room, and our HR lady was talking about going on a ghost tour in California, and my ear perked up. I don't even know why I perked up. It just caught my attention, and I was like, "Oh, you are," and we started talking, and I'm like, "Da da 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 da," and she goes, "Oh, you got to meet Shane." I'm like, "Shane? Shane who?" And she points you out, and I'm like, oh, okay. And it's like, okay, I got to go meet this guy, right? So we go over and we ended up chatting and we came up with a lot of stuff at that job, huh?
Yes.
You
Yeah, there was
came
a lot.
over. Yeah, you were telling me that there was a gentleman that was like my brother. He was like close enough. He felt like a brother, like I was his sister and all.
Mm.
And I'm like, who is this person? Who is this person? And I could not figure it out, could not figure it out. And he finally came to me as you in the bathroom. He comes to me and tells me who he was. And I come out of the bathroom, I'm running over to Shane. I'm like, I know who he is. I know who he is. And I told you his name, and you're like, yep, that's him. That was him. Yeah, you got all kinds of things. And you were always telling me where I was working, there was people waiting to talk to me.
Hmm.
And when we first met up and everything, you're like, oh, there's a few people here. But when by the time one of us left the company, you were saying, yeah, it's pretty full over here now.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of stuff was going on there.
Yes.
Yeah.
The building that I have my office in here in Old Town in Fort Collins, the owner of these buildings had an office right across um, right across the square here, and it was a brothel in the 1800s. And there was one office that was pretty scary. The woman felt pretty uncomfortable, and they had a camera going, and it showed a ghost residual that was doing this. He was stabbing one of the hookers, and yeah, that's on camera. Now, there's a difference between a ghost and a spirit. So a ghost is residual. So that's just when the earth or a wall or whatever holds the energy, like you see in a castle, where the ghost of someone will walk by and disappear.
Hmm.
That's just residual. But a spirit is one that's on the other side and comes back and will actually stop and um, talk or things like that. They're more interactive and the energy's completely different. Um, there was one time, and I love the skeptics. Those are fun. I was in his office. He asked me to come up because the drawer in his desk kept coming out and pushing back in on its own. And so when I was in meditation before I came up, this man named Gus, really funny guy, came through from the other side. So I went up there and I said, "Who's Gus?" And there were all these realtors there, and they're like, "Well, I just want to see what this psychic is all about, right?" So when I said, "Who is Gus?" they said, "Oh my gosh, that's a friend of ours who died 5 years ago." And I said, he had a great sense of humor, pulling pranks all the time, right?" "Yes. Well, he's the one who keeps pulling your drawer out. Just acknowledge that he's there, say hi, and he'll stop doing it if you want." But it freaked out the realtors and they just took off.
It was really, really interesting. My husband is a skeptic.
Yeah.
He like believes in it, but he's not quite sure about it. So he's kind of on the fence, kind of leaning over on the okay, I kind of believe side, but he's witnessed a couple things now with me.
Oh
We were
yeah.
out yeah, we were out walking one time picking up trash that we do. And we got to this one corner and he stopped at the corner. I was back just a little bit and I'm picking up trash out of this bush that's there. And out of the blue, I wear cargo shorts. So, but not that at that point. I didn't have pockets on it at all that time. But I heard this hello coming from my pocket, but I didn't have pockets on at that time. So it was coming from like where my cargo pockets would be. And I'm like, okay. I do a quick spin around, and I look at my husband and I'm like, "Did you hear that?" He goes, "Yeah, it came from where you're at." I go, "It wasn't me." He goes, "I know. It was very plain, but it wasn't you." And he's looking all around. There's no one around, not a car around, no nothing. And so he's like, "Okay, I did hear that." I think it was a fairy from the bush.
Oh, it could have been.
Yeah.
It could have been.
Kind of like thanking us for, cleaning up their home.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
so we go by each time and I'm like, "Hi guys, how are you?" And
Good.
nothing. But it's
That's
a
great.
he was just like, "What?" Yeah, it was pretty cool. He goes, "I heard it loud and clear." I go, "And it wasn't me."
Good.
So
Wow.
that was really cool.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
I'm also a medical intuitive. I had a lady come into my office several months ago. And so on the other side, they give me information about other people. So I said, I'm concerned about your husband. He needs to go have his prostate checked. Make sure he goes to the doctor. So she did. And about a month later, she calls me up for another appointment and she said, he went to the doctor and he has prostate cancer. What do we do? So she came in and I said, well, you need to make sure he has a surgery and all that, but you can add Reiki and some other things that will help. So it did. And then I had a client about a year and a half ago, and I said, I'm concerned about your brother. He has a heart problem. She says, well, I don't think he knows about it. He needs to have it checked out. So I just received an email from her saying that he just had open heart surgery and that he's doing well.
Oh,
So,
good.
yeah. So I can help figure out what's going on inside a person's body, um, which can be really helpful.
Mhm.
I do a lot of different things.
Yeah,
If
you
you have
do.
issues with your kids, show me a photo of them, and I can tell you whether they're on drugs or what they're doing. Um, so I use a lot of photos, especially I have clients from all over the world, so they'll send me photos and I'll use my pendulum and figure things out, and spirit will come in and give me information, do my automatic writing, and then if they're in the States, I call them. If they're out of the country, we usually do Zoom, or if it's a family, we do Zoom. I also do a lot of group readings. Um, I know a lot of ladies like to get together and party and have a psychic come and do their stuff. When there's a group reading, spirit starts coming in um, before I get there. I had this one very tall spirit lady jump in my car and she said something about a watch, this watch. And she was really concerned about it. And so when I got there, I said, some lady, and I kind of had her name right, I think. I said, she's really concerned about this watch. What's with the watch? Anybody know anything about their aunt who died who is complaining about a watch? And this lady said, "Oh yeah, that's Aunt so and so, and her daughter. She thought her daughter was supposed to get this other relative's watch, but I ended up with it." And I said, "She just wants you to know that she doesn't care about that anymore. So you're fine with the watch." And they've come in, like if I have a group reading of maybe 20 or 30 people, they'll start to come in a couple of weeks early, and I have to tell them, go to the green room and wait until I'm ready for you. I was an actor in New York for several years, and whenever we'd go on set, um, before we go on set, that's where we stayed in the green room. So they always know what the green room means. Don't bother me until it's your time. So yeah,
Yeah. Got to be upfront with them, huh?
right. Yeah. A couple of weeks ago, I had a lady who had 11 souls come through. That was
Oh
a bit
my.
exhausting. Yeah,
Yeah, that was active. Yes.
yeah, it was.
What's the max you've had that you can remember?
Souls that come through, that
Mm-hmm.
was it. 11.
11.
11 for one person. That was a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you have spirit coming through, how does that look for you?
Um, I see them through my third eye. Very rarely will I see a physical spirit. So they will come through with a noise or a smell or say something, and I can it's telepathic basically. They don't always, that's not always verbal. I had a couple of ladies from the Middle East here one day, and this woman showed up behind me, and she had all these bracelets on, and they were clanking. And she had a thick accent, and I was able to kind of mimic the accent. And I said, You had an aunt with, she's wearing all these bracelets. Oh, yeah, that's Aunt so and so. She always wore bracelets. She always clinked when she walked. And I said, She has a message for your dad. He has a heart issue and he needs to go get it taken care of. He said, We wondered about that. He's so stubborn. I said, Well, she needs you to be on him about it. Um, And smells. Oh my gosh. Sometimes they'll come in with the weirdest smells, especially smoke. The other day when I had, or a couple weeks ago when I had the lady who had 11 souls come through, one of them, I could smell this like this t-shirt that just stunk of cigarette smoke, hadn't been washed in weeks. I asked her about it, and she said, "Oh, that was my brother, so and so." So they'll come in all kinds of ways to prove that they were there. I mean, um, so they could relate in some way. I
Yeah.
had one who came through one time. I said, "I'm seeing this cage full of birds by a big kitchen window, and I could just smell all the bird poop. It was just gross." And she said, "Oh, that was my aunt so and so. She always collected all those finches, and they were in this big cage by the kitchen window." And I said, "Well, she's come through with some familiar smell for you." Ju-
Oh,
Yeah, and sometimes it's perfume or cologne or floral. Sometimes they'll come through with symbols like they'll uh, they'll influence butterflies or birds, things like that.
yeah. I've had, oh, that's probably maybe 2 months ago, 2.5 or so months ago. I kept smelling cigarettes, and it
Hmm.
was just let everybody know if you haven't heard this before. I don't smoke, never have, never will. And so smelling cigarettes just really, I just, ugh.
Yeah.
So I was smelling the cigarette all the time. I was like at home, at work, everywhere. I just get like half, half a breath of this cigarette smell. And it got so strong to this point where it was giving me a headache. And the one time I even felt like I just took a puff. It
Oh,
burnt my
wow.
throat and everything. And I'm like, all right, that's enough. Whoever this is, you need to give me a different scent because I'm not doing this anymore. Give me something different. It took a few times of saying that, but then I haven't smelled that anymore since then. But yet I started smelling waffles with maple syrup.
Wow.
It's like, okay, I can deal with that, not the smoke.
Yeah. Yeah, they come in so many different ways. They like to play with the electronics and lights. I was on our deck a couple summers ago with my relatives. and I'm the black sheep of the family, a little skeptical, some of them are, right? And I felt my grandmother come through, who died 25 years ago. And then my uncle came through, and I said, Grandma's here, Uncle Bob's here. And my niece was holding this deck pillow. It had LED lights in it, and it lit up and then fizzled out. I didn't know it had LED lights in it. We looked inside, and it didn't have any batteries. And they've come through like, the Google thing. You have to say, "Hey, Google," and then it comes on, and then you request something. Well, sometimes
Right.
I'll just walk past and it'll be playing a song out of the blue. Um, yeah, so they'll come in all kinds of ways. A lot of times they'll come in through computer glitches or a song on your phone, um, different things.
Yeah. I was driving to work one time and I started hearing like a distant radio with a lot of chattering on it, like way in the distance, but yet it was in my car. So it was like,
Oh,
okay, that was weird. And I even looked down and checked my radio because I don't have it on very often because not all my speakers work. So I just go without. So I didn't even have my radio on. And I'm looking down, it's like, my radio's off, but I'm like hearing this distant radio going off. And it's like, oh, that was weird.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that
Wow.
was that was pretty awesome. Yeah. Oh, so I know you do photo readings too, because that's how
Yeah.
you do your police work and
Hmm.
helping out others overseas. So
I do.
how do you receive information from the pictures?
Well, it's hard to explain. I'll look at a picture and I'll get images, pictures, little movies of what they're like, what they've been through, what their personality's like. And if I want to confirm something, I'll use my pendulum and ask like yes or no questions. And I always hold my pendulum right here and my hand's very steady so I can't move it. Then when I
Hmm.
ask the question, it either moves this way for yes or this way for no. Um, so I can get a lot off of a photo. I had some police send me a photo of a skeleton that they found in like 1985. They didn't know whose it was or anything. Um, so I did that, and all these criminals started to come through, and I said the body was like put in acid or something like that, and they confirmed that the
Oh.
body was indeed burned. Um, I did a I also work with another medium. We do murder investigations together. His name is Jeff. He's very good as well. But we worked on an investigation together, a closed case from 1959 that happened on the East Coast. I we saw I felt how she died. Um, and that they raped her and all that, but I couldn't feel the rape part. I just felt the suffocating and all this. And they said the coroner said that her corpse was raped, but she was suffocated. And then I saw like these cups of Coke or something. It wasn't water. I wasn't sure what it was. And I said there were fingerprints on that, but somebody did something and it disappeared. So they weren't able to get that evidence. And I said the policeman that was involved at the time, he was just really stupid. Didn't know what he was doing. And so the client said that, yeah, there were actually two uh, glasses of Coke. The sheriff came in and he, for some reason, washed the glasses. He wasn't the murderer. Um, and then his wife had to make out all the reports because he was illiterate. So it's always something like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then I saw that she had had an affair with her boss, which they confirmed. Um, and she had this feeling. At first, I thought he was the murderer because of the way she felt about him. Like, get out of my house. I can't stand to be around you type of thing. But the murderer ended up being this guy who had a band in another city, and she was a singer. And he was stalking her. And I actually saw the back of him walk right through the back door, which was unlocked. Yeah, so um, yeah, all that's still there from photos from way back.
Yeah. So how do you deal with things that are like this? Because I know you can feel how people pass, like the gunshots and stuff like that. You can feel this stuff happening. How do you work through that so it's not um
Mhm.
staying with you? I mean,
Yeah.
how's that work with for you?
Well, I'm able to separate myself. So I know it's not mine and I know it's going to go away soon. The only time it's really lingered is when I had a case with this person who is homeless and he was really drunk and he was hit by a car and killed.
Mm.
And I felt that drunk feeling and smelled that old alcohol stuff for quite a while. It was hard to shake. So I just called up a friend of mine who did some quick energy work and got just released it. Um, but it doesn't last very long anymore with me. It's pretty quick. They're just there to show me what happened and then it disappears.
Yeah, yeah, pretty cool. So, what is one of my questions I ask my guests? What is the craziest thing that's ever happened to you? And what was the coolest thing that's ever happened to you?
Metaphysically or
Yeah.
real
We
or in real life. Real life.
won't go in the real area, Shane.
Probably not a good idea.
I know you too well for that one.
Yeah, I know, right? Um, let's see. I think actually one of the craziest things was when I was in that room and the spirit actually put his hand out, touched the guy. Everybody got really angry, and then the scratches just appeared on the woman's ankle. Um, that was creepy. But I think one of the coolest things was I had this client who saw my TV show, and he lives in North Carolina. He was in his 60s, and he just called me up and he said, "I saw you on TV, and I can't get rid of this spirit. She died 30 years ago. She won't leave. She won't leave me alone. I can't sleep. I don't know what to do to get rid of her." And he said, she gave me her name and everything. He looked it up online and it was all there. It was all true. This woman was murdered by her husband in front of her baby. Her husband was a doctor. Um, so she was like earthbound. She couldn't move on. So I said, well, try and find a medium in your area. And he said, I'm okay. How do I know what medium to use? I said, you'll just know. So a day later, he said, "You're the medium. I'm coming out there." So he came out here, and we were able to get that woman to move on, open the light, got her to go toward the light, and she went through the light, and the peace and love that filled my office was incredible. And he had never experienced anything like that before. But his abilities after that grew quite substantially. So I actually have him work with me on murder cases now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool.
Mhm.
That is really cool. That good job. Yay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, one more question for you. Have you had any extraterrestrial experiences or seen UFOs or UAPs now?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So the most recent one was I went to the GSIC conference, galact some galactic um gosh, I can't remember off the top of my head. Galactic Informers. It's just amazing. So what happens is there's a woman there named Elena Danan. She is the emissary for the Galactic Federation of Worlds. Um, this people don't know what's going on at all. We have a branch of the military that makes regular routine uh, trips to the moon, to Mars. Um, there's the Galactic Federation of Worlds are protecting us. There's a whole story behind that, but um, long story short, there were off-planet ETs there. There's a lot of human ETs, but they're from different planets, right? So there was a couple of them who were born off planet and were there. And let me tell you, you can tell the difference. This one man, when he was on stage explaining all this, it's almost like his skin was sparkly. It was just so different. He was just so different. And they will disguise themselves too. Like Elena Danan had a couple of bodyguards who had disguised themselves more to look more like us. And you could definitely tell, and their energy is different. And then she called a bunch of UFOs in that evening, and they were just everywhere. And our military has a UFO. It's triangular shaped, and it has a light on each end. Well, they got permission from NORAD to come in, but they had to stay pretty high because of the airports and things in the area because it was here in Denver, um, Westminster, I believe. And there was just a whole bunch of them that came in different patterns, and it was just incredible. So what they're getting ready for is full disclosure, which will happen in the end of 27, 26, somewhere in 27, not far off. But they do these GSIC conferences once or twice a year. The last one was in England in May. A whole bunch of UFOs came through at that one. The next one is in September in Charleston, and then the next one is going to be in England again, and then in 27 they'll have another one here in the States. But it is fantastic. It is so amazing all that's going on out there for our benefit. It really things are going to change for the better for the whole planet. Um, and then I had let's see, I saw a drawing of a an ET, a Ponti. Her name is Drew T. And I had this special love for her. I couldn't understand why I had this special connection with her. So I asked the liaison between who does telepathy between them and us, and I just asked, why am I so close to her? And she said because she's been monitoring. She's saying that she's been monitoring the men in your family for several generations. And I said, well, why us? She said because you all think outside the box. Like, oh, okay. But yeah. So those are my ET experiences.
That would be so awesome to go check out.
Oh
That
yeah,
would
I
be so
highly recommend
awesome.
it. There's so much that we don't know
Hmm.
that's been hidden for us for so long, and all that freedom is finally coming out.
Yeah. I haven't been able to tell you my latest in February
Oh yeah?
that happened to me. I was going to work. I'm carpooling now. And the lady I was carpooling with in about a 10 like a 15 to 20-second time frame this all happened. I suddenly felt like I was really, really struggling to say a word. So I was like very focused in trying to say this word. And then the next thing I
Wow.
knew, I was slammed back into my body. So I kind of had this like jello kind of feel like it was jammed
Really?
into my body. Yeah. And then I opened my eyes and I was like, oh crap, this stop sign came up fast. Okay. That's my experience.
Oh, you lost some time.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Something
wow.
happened.
Hmm.
But I was driving and I had this person in my car. And she was saying in that time frame, she says, you were driving faster than normal. You didn't drive like normal because I always skip the manholes. I like to dodge those.
Hmm.
And she says, I wasn't dodging those. I was speaking in very slow motion, like I was talking like
Wow.
this. And she said that I was very like zoned out. I was just
Wow.
in a zone. But she thought I was just messing around. And we got to talking during break that day and about it. And somebody next to us started talking about some light that she saw in the sky. And her daughter was there. And she's like, oh, mom, you're crazy. You're just seeing things. You're crazy.
Hmm. No, you're not crazy. You're not seeing things.
Nope.
Your subconscious took over. I think it would be a great idea to have um, hypnotherapy with Derek and figure out what happened.
I would like to kind of get together with him some more and um do some stuff. I'd like to be like I say, get my past lives, get some more of those
Oh yeah,
understood.
yeah.
Um and maybe kind of find out who's been visiting me all these years,
Hmm.
throughout those visitations and all. So, but I have found out, I haven't told you this one either. I found out that I am Mantis and
Oh,
I
okay.
am the Marian with a hint
Oh yeah, okay.
of gray.
Hmm. Yeah, we need to talk about come into my office sometime and we'll talk about all that.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's get together.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you don't
let's
want to
get
be
together then.
yeah, okay.
So that's what I found out recently. So there's the newest for you. Um, yeah,
Okay,
it's
wow.
pretty, it's kind of interesting. A
Great.
little bit on the little bit side there, but yeah. Do you have any more stories for us, Shane?
Ah, well, I don't know. What do you want to hear?
Everything.
Well, I'm working with a producer for a new pilot. Hopefully, it'll be a series. It's about Jeff and I going out to different locations for murder investigations. Also, of me going to different spaces and figuring out what they used to be, the energy in them, um, just all kinds of different fun stuff that will that I hope will become a series and everyone will enjoy. But right
Awesome.
now we're working on the pilot, so it's slow going, of course, which they usually are.
It's all cool. It's all cool.
Yeah.
And to let everybody know, I'm going to finally be on your show.
Yes, I
I'll be
haven't
going over there.
YouTube. Yeah, eventually I'll have all my YouTube stuff together. I'm starting a YouTube channel. So I'll be interviewing people at the Glass House. Um, so yeah, I'm excited for all that to come together as well. But if anybody wants to get an appointment with me, All you have to do is go to my website, shanesmithpsychicmedium.com, and I'd be happy to set up an appointment with you.
There you go. There you go. Awesome. And everyone, he knows what he's doing. He is the real thing.
Thank you.
He he's got what you need. It doesn't matter what you're looking for. Shane can get you there. He's helped me see auras. He's helped me out in so many different ways, and he's still always helping me out. So I really appreciate that. And
I'm so glad.
so he's the real stuff, guys. So take advantage and meet up with him. He's good.
Thank you, Dana.
Hey, thank you for being on my show finally after this long.
I know, absolutely.
And I am still
Thank
working
you
on
for
getting
having
Jeff.
me. Oh,
Oh, I'm still working on getting Jeff on the show too.
oh, okay, great, great.
Yeah,
Maybe we
still
can
working
come
on.
on together sometime if you
That'll
want.
work. That'll work.
All right, that
Yeah,
sounds
that'd
great.
be awesome. You are so welcome. Thank you for being on the show, and I really appreciate your time and everything today. And you are always welcome back to tell us more of your stories because I know you have a trillion of them. So,
Thanks. You take care, and
all
everyone
right.
take care of yourselves. Do you?
All right. Take care.
Okay. You
And
too.
if anyone out there has any stories you would like to share, let me know. Email me at lighttalk423@gmail.com and we'll get you on the show. All right. We'll talk with everybody later. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.